So like we always do at Eurus, I'm going to go ahead and start with a safety moment. Something very essential to our kitchens, and I feel like this is a must-have, even if you're at home. I mean, home chefs, regular chefs, Euro chefs, all of us. This is something that I feel is very essential, and it's a big part of us. It's a cut glove. Many of us, I feel like if you're a home chef as well as professional chefs, how many times have we cut our fingers, right? So let's save the fingers by using this cut glove. It's very essential to us. It's a must-have. Please put this in your cooking. You know, it's just amazing. It's something to have. It saves fingers, but it's a huge part of us. And let's get this going. Please use your cut glove anytime you have that knife in your hand. Also, don't forget to wear it on the opposite side of your hand that you are cutting from. So if the knife is on your right hand, you put it on your left hand. Vice versa. If it's on the left side, you put it on the right side, right? All right. So that's the safety moment. So thank you very much. And let's get this demo started. So what today I'm doing is a steam snapper. It was a big part of me growing up in Hawaii. I am originally from Oahu, Honolulu. And this is something I grew up eating. And also it's definitely something dear to my heart. I am part Chinese, so this is a Chinese snapper. What I am using today is a New Zealand snapper. You guys can use any other fish too as well, but snapper for me is something very delicate. I feel like these are probably about whole fish. They're probably about 2 pounds, 2.5 max. But we're also just using the fillet as well. So the snapper is something delicate and I feel goes good with steaming. But like I said, you can still use a salmon. Let's be honest, a lot of people out there can't get New Zealand snapper. So you go ahead and use a cod. Use salmon as well, very popular fish. You could do salmon too. So by all means, do not stick with snapper, but if you can get it, go ahead. And snappers kind of fall in the same category, regardless on what size they are. Obviously, if they're bigger, this is probably about a 4.5 ounce to 5 ounce piece, skin on. If you don't like skin, you can also take that off as well. So, just go ahead and do what you can and use what you can, okay? Then what I want to do is starting off this demo, I'm going to be moving my camera around, so bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring my camera down. All right, so what I have here is I am going to go over a lot about technique today. I'm huge on technique and I love it. I'm going to actually give you guys some secrets of technique wise on how to cut. So some of the ingredients that you're going to need, right? First and foremost, we're going to go with the green onion. The reason why is I want to show you this demo that I have. Trusty cut glove, right? Like we said. So believe it or not, some people do this wrong. Actually, many people do this wrong. But we're going to go ahead and cut these roots off because it's not edible, first and foremost. You could actually use this in stock, right? Get these going for stock, save them for stock. But you actually want to cut from the white side to the green. And one of the techniques I want to really go over is this rubber band. You could use a rubber band. You could use a towel. You could use a paper towel. But what you're going to do is be careful of your fingers, always inwards. And you're going to cut from the white side all the way to the green side. And obviously, I've been doing this for a while. So this is I'm moving pretty quick, right? So you're just going to go all the way down. When you get to the rubber band, just like this, you're going to scoot it up a little bit more. And you're going to keep going. And it's just a rocking motion. So some people rock with their knife on the ground, on the cutting board. I actually chop like this, but with a rocking motion, okay? Then what I like to do is I like to turn this around, okay? And I get an even cut and I move this over to the stock, right? Anytime you guys have extra pieces of veggies, I always like to use it for stock. If you guys do use it for our professional chefs out there, you guys know what I'm talking about. For our home cook chefs out there, this is what we kind of do to keep from wasting. But here we go. So I'm going to keep moving down. And then when you get the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the whole thing, but I'm not going to go through that. And then just like TV magic, I have some on the side here. All right. So we're going to add this. Okay. So that's the first demo of technique. I'm huge on technique. And speaking of technique, I also do a live event on Instagram, and I think Chef has it on there. If you guys can, go ahead and follow me. I do some Technique Tuesday, which is today. I will have an episode today on Technique Tuesday. And I also do a Flavor Friday show that is live. And I also do a Smoking Sunday, which isn't live. If you guys are big fans of smokers out there, I am an ambassador for Traeger. So I do a lot of stuff on Sundays with Traeger. And so, yeah, go ahead and hit that follow button. But, okay, so now what we're going to do next, we're going to stick with the veggies. Ginger. If you guys aren't familiar with ginger, this is what a ginger looks like. And basically, it's a root veg, very, very essential to healthy eating. It says a lot of benefits for health. For instance, if you're feeling a little sick, obviously nowadays with COVID, it does, it's not with COVID, but if you got some common colds, right? I would do a ginger, lime, and hot water and honey for a remedy for me being, if you're got a little under the weather. And then you peel it. You can peel it with a spoon. You can peel it with a peeler. You can peel it with a knife. So this is what it looks like after it's peeled. And then what you're going to do in the recipe, I have it as cut as julienne. So if you're not familiar with julienne cuts are very thin, long strips. But yeah, so that's what we're doing here. So that's what you're going to need to do. So you got the green onions, you got the ginger, and then some of the other ingredients that we're going to go through as well. We're going to stick with the vegetables. So I chose, you can use any variety of vegetables provided that it's well steamed. So if it goes good with steaming, most vegetables out there are pretty well good with steaming. Maybe eggplant, not so much. So I would stay away from that. But I chose broccoli, bell peppers, and asparagus today. You want to kind of keep them in uniform size if you can. And then we're going to go over to some proteins. Okay, so the recipe calls for lap cheong. Does anybody know what lap cheong is out there? So that's a Chinese sausage. It's very sweet in flavor. This one is a pork and chicken lap cheong. You can find this at the Asian markets. I wanted to show you guys the picture. This might be a little backwards, but obviously we can do it forward. But lap cheong is very essential in Chinese cooking. It's a sweet sausage. You can grill it. You can saute it. But this is one of the ingredients that's going in there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut it on a bias, right? So the bias cut, it's a long sausage. So we're going to cut it on a bias, meaning on a diagonal piece. This is something else that's going to go into this dish. Okay, then we're going to go and we're going to keep to the proteins. I am actually going to move my cutting board because I got the proteins coming. In our professional kitchens here, we actually color code our cutting boards. You can do it at home as well. So blue, obviously green meaning vegetables, blue meaning fish. Okay, so you don't get some cross-contamination. This is the reason why we do that for our home chefs out there. So what we're going to do is you can't, and in the recipe, I call for scoring your fish, okay? So I'm going to leave the skin on in this situation, but scoring, there is actually a secret to scoring fish, and that's what I want to go over. So you're going to get your knife, okay? And what you're going to do is if you look at the angles of the way, this is the head of the fish, this is the tail of the fish, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to follow the angle. So some fish are the opposite way, right? So you're going to follow the angle and you're actually going to pinch. So you see how this pinching method is? And you're going to come down off of it, okay? And you're going to pinch and you're going to score. And as you can see, the angle of my score is the angle of the fish. So this is the head. So that's what the way you want to follow with the score. You don't have to do it that way. It's a culinary, professional culinary that we do it that way. It's for looks as well. And you just want to get that all the way kind of close to the edge if you can. The pinch is to help you get there. And then you can kind of slice towards the end. So the score is like that. Okay. From that point on, what we're going to do is I'm going to have two steps right here. So now we're going to go into the cooking stage. Okay. So what we want to do, I'm going to go ahead and move my camera up to here. We're going to move this over and we're going to go to the stove. Can everybody see that? Yes. Okay. So what we have here is we have two types of cookery here. And this is what I want to go with technique-wise, is take a look at this. Okay. So let's be honest. Not all of us in the professional kitchens have professional steamers, right? Some of us don't. So for our home chefs out there, I've created a makeshift steamer that doesn't require a lot of things, right? So I actually here at UFC, we use Le Corset. So I chose that. You can also use a pot that you have at home. You don't have to have a fancy pot. It could be nothing expensive like a Le Corset, but you guys need a pot with a lid. And what I did was I actually have a porcelain, or basically any kind of porcelain china that you have at home, which is a bowl. Now, there's a purpose for this. Many of you guys out there's probably seen some of those perforated colander-looking things that you can actually steam with. I prefer to steam with a bowl. The reason why is because this residual water in here, that's actually going to help you with the sauce. I prefer to use a bowl, not one with holes in it, perforated meaning holes. I don't like to use that because why? I'm actually going to use the residual water as my sauce, okay? And we'll get into that as well. But I want you to understand that we're going to preheat this. We're going to cover it, okay? So that's what we're doing. Now, what we're going to do is we're actually going, and I want to get this in stages. So the reason why I bounced off over the here is because we want to turn this on, get it ready to go. Now, we're actually going to make that sauce that I was talking about, okay? And like I said, the recipe will be given to you guys. I have some soy sauce, and all we're going to do is make a sweet soy. And if you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them in there. And if I can answer them, I will, definitely, while I'm doing this. If you have any questions out there, let me know, and I can get this going. But we are going to go ahead and give this a stir. This is the first thing you're going to do after you preheat your bowl or your pot. Why? Because the sugar has to dissolve. So we're just going to go a 1-to-1 ratio, sugar to soy. And we're going to set that to the side. Now, the next thing I have actually I want to get going is this pot back here. This is going to be for the sesame oil and canola oil. I'm using a salad oil for this as well. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and dump it. The ratio is 90 to a 10% ratio. 90% meaning salad oil and then a 10% sesame oil. Okay. And we're using that for flavor. So we're going to go ahead and drop that on and turn that on low. And we're going to get that on. And be careful, folks. You are going to need a slight smoke. So if you do have a vent, please turn that on at your home. For us professional chefs, obviously we have giant vents here and we're good to go. We're going to need a slight smoke. I'm going to give this another stir to get this soy and sugar down. It's basically a sweet soy. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and bounce back over here. We're going to go back to the prep table, okay? And now what we're going to do is we are going to, okay, we're set. Perfect. Set up a tad bit, okay? And what we're going to do is we are going to prep the fish now, okay? So what I'm going to do is I have a little container right here. You can actually, we're going to put this and place this in the pot after we're done. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do skin side up. And what we're going to do is always add some salt, right? If you guys tune into my live shows on Instagram, I always talk about salt equals flavor. And that's really huge. You know, overly salty isn't too good, but salt equals flavor. So you're going to go ahead and add some salt. And believe it or not, I don't cook with pepper, believe it or not. It tends to burn. You can use pepper as well. I don't use pepper in it. In my cooking, I don't. That's just personal preference. And then we're going to line up this ginger, okay? I'm going to follow the spores. So I'm going to keep it in the same direction. All right. Chef, how are we doing? We got any questions out there?
No questions.
Anybody?
No questions.
Not yet?
But I was,
okay.
Maybe if anyone's wondering, why did you score it, Chef?
Yeah, so good question. Very good question. The reason why we score is because we don't want it to curl. What happens with skin when it hits heat, they crunch and curl. You can also do this method when you're searing. When you're searing a fish as well, skin side down for crispiness, you can score it also, and it'll help you to not have the fish curl on you. So good question, Chef. Thank you. So after we line up the ginger just like that, we are going to add a bunch of green onions on here. This is something essential. I think it's a must. You have to have that. Okay. Now, something to add to your repertoire in your kitchen, a fish spatula. Very essential. I suggest getting one. You can find them at Surlatov, your favorite. You can even find them at Target, Walmart, and things like that. So go ahead and it makes life very easy. They do make a left-handed and right-handed spatulas, fish spatulas, but I use the right-handed because it's just easier to do. I don't need to confuse nobody. And we're gonna take this, and I'm gonna take my camera, and what we're gonna do is we're actually going to add it to the pot, and I'll get the camera over. 1 second. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and add this to the hot mixture right here. Okay. So we're gonna take that fish spat, we're gonna throw it in here just like that. Okay. Get all that green onions on there. Perfect. And then what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna move it to the side too. The reason why I'm gonna move it to the side is because we're gonna see. So right here, I'm gonna give that one little stir, and then we're gonna go ahead and pour that over the top, just like that. Make sure you cover everything, well coated, just like that. And then what I wanna do is the reason why I moved it to the side, and this is why I'm gonna throw some of that Lap Cheong in here, just like that, okay? And that's why I pushed it to the side. And then we're gonna add some asparagus in there. And the reason why you're gonna do all the same sizes is so that everything cooks, even the fish and the vegetables are all gonna cook at the same time. All right, so we're gonna turn that up a tad bit to medium high, and we're gonna let that go. All right, so from there, we have that going. So you have a bunch of things going at the same time, right? So please be mindful. I have my smoke. This oil is smoking. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that down a tad bit and turn it up right before this is over. And then you got your steamed fish, which we're gonna go about 5 to 6, depending on how thick as well too. And I noted that in the recipe, that depending on how thick you have it, it depends on how long it's gonna take. So what I'm gonna do is I am going to go ahead and let this sit, and let's talk about some fish and stuff like that. All right, so while that's going, have any questions out there?
Nope, just yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Looks great, Chef.
So, go ahead. I heard somebody.
Oh, I said looks great, Chef.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, this is definitely a Chinese dish. So you'll see this in Chinese cuisines. What they do is they usually do a whole fish. If you guys go to a Chinese restaurant, they do a whole fish. Some of them actually fry it, but you can also order it steamed. And so we're taking a rendition of a whole fish, but making it presentable for a one-person meal. Obviously, if you are doing it for a bigger crowd, right, like for a party, obviously you would probably need a bigger steamer. Also, as well, you're just going to add a little bit more volume to the actual recipe. So the recipe that was given to you guys is for one, but you can fit two, right? So I think you could fit it depending on how big your steamer is. This is one of the things that was a little background for me. I went to culinary school in Hawaii called KCC, and I ran this dish at one of the dining rooms that we had, not only a cafeteria, but you had to do one of the actual kitchens. And this is something that I ran at the and broke all the records, no joke, broke all the records for sales on this specific dish. So I'm very happy about this. This is dear to my heart. And like I always say in my cooking and my cooking shows, you always cook with your heart. That's very important because it'll show, even if you're a professional chef or a house chef, a home cook, it'll show in your food if you cook with your heart, and it's so important. And that's why I wanted to bring this to you, because why this is, dear to my heart. And I also say one other thing is I also say in my quotes, you always try everything twice. One time maybe it's not something that you guys, like the first time, but hey, try it again, right? So let's try it twice. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at what we have here. Pan this camera down.
Yeah,
So as it steams, go ahead, Chef.
someone asked if you can't use sugar, what other suggestion?
Great question. Okay, so great question. Perfect. I love it. I love questions, folks. So ask away. It could be anything too. But you can use a stevia. You can also use. I've seen monk fruit sugar is another good one. Coconut sugar is another one. Now be careful with coconut sugar. It is brown, so it is going to turn your sauce brown. If you use it for anything else, this is soy sauce, so it is brown, so go good together. You could use Splenda. The ratio, believe it or not, is fine. You can still do 1-to-1 ratio for this. Actually, when I've tried to use, because we use that a lot here at UFC, a lot of the executives upstairs, they eat very healthy, so they don't want granulated sugar. So what do we use? We use substitutes here. So it actually tones down the sweetness a little bit. So I feel fine altering the recipe as keeping it to whatever alternative sugar you have. So 1-to-1 is totally fine. I know Splenda is a tad bit sweet, but I think 1-to-1, if you want to do 3/4, is totally fine to 1 soy, and that's by parts. Parts meaning anything that you use, 1 part of this to 3/4 of this, 1 part of this, 1 part. I like that in recipes. It's easier to do recipes by parts, for especially if you know you're doing for a mass quantity of people at home. You know, you just take the recipe in parts and multiply it, right? So there, I hope that helps you. Go ahead and use any additives, any substitute sweeteners that you want. You could also use honey as well. If you guys you're not into the sugars, you can also use honey. By all means, honey works as well. Keep the ratio the same. You will get a little different taste, just FYI with honey. It's very dominant. So, but it will still go good with this, what we're doing today. Honey, I feel safe, is good. A lot of Chinese food. Let's see. I see a little question there. Can we use shrimp? Is that what the question was, Chef?
Yes, can you do shrimp instead of fish?
Absolutely. You can absolutely do shrimp. The timing might be a little less, just FYI, just depending on what size of shrimp you use. If you're using a 21-25, which is very common, you would definitely use less time. So keep that in mind, okay? You might have to pay a little attention to it. But I would say if we're doing about 6 to 8 minutes here, you'd probably do half of that. So just keep that in mind. Because when you overcook shrimp, it does get very rubbery. And I don't like a rubbery shrimp. I don't know if anybody, there's people out there that do like it though. I ain't gonna lie. People like that overcooked shrimp. So it's your personal preference. You might have to pay a little attention to it, just FYI. So yes, shrimp. But you might want to alter the ginger too as well. If you do use the shrimp recipe, you might want to chop the ginger instead of julienne. Okay, so that's one of the things you will have to do is chop the ginger instead of julienne. So great question. Thank you for that question. I love it. All right, so we are practically there. So take a look at this, folks. Awesome. I mean, you're gonna get all the flavor right here. Check this out. Like I created a new word called voilu. And like we say at my show, voilu. So here we go. So all the perfect, everything is perfect right here. So we're good to go. So what we're going to do is you're going to go ahead and grab, I'm going to grab a towel. And I did have some tongs. I don't know where my tongs are. Right here. Perfect. So I have some tongs. So I'm going to go ahead and take this out. Okay. And I'm going to grab some things. Okay. So be careful. This is very hot. Okay. And we're going to shut this off. Okay. And we're going to move that down. Okay. So now this is where it is very hot. So be careful. And another little secret and technique, you can't, okay, see this ladle. I'm using a metal ladle. If you can use a metal ladle, please use a metal ladle because when you use a rubber ladle, it's going to melt in this thing. Little secret, get that ladle well coated with oil while it's on, okay? You want this smoking, okay? Not smoking to where it's gonna set your house alarms off, your smoke detectors, but definitely get a gentle smoke on there, okay? It's what you want. And what we're gonna do is, why am I coating the ladle with oil? Because what happens is oil works with heat, right? And if you don't get this well coated and heated up, when you add this to this mixture here, it's going, no joke, it's not going to sizzle that you need. So that's why we're going to heat this up and get that ladle well coated in oil. Don't let it sit there, because what happens is if you do, the handle is going to get very hot on you and you're going to burn your hand. And that's why I keep it separate until I really need it, which is now. Okay. So we're getting there. It's hot. It's getting there. And I don't know if any home cooks out there can tell. I know our professional chefs know when oil gets very loose and not thick, it means it's hot. So that's one little hint too as well. Okay, we got a gentle smoke in here. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. I don't know if you guys can see in your guys' television there, but it is smoking. Okay, so we're going to take this and we're going to go right over the top. Now be careful. You hear that sizzle? It's sizzling. So you guys are going to have to be careful. Okay. And like we say, voila, boom. That's it. Okay, now, two things. What I want to go over, just like that. This coal is very hot. Like we say, voila. Look at that. Perfect. Okay. So now, plating. What I want to do, if you ever serve this in the hot bowl like this, you need a plate underneath, okay? The other way is we could do is, I actually have a plate. Let's see. I'm going to use this as a plate, okay? So picture this as our plate. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to take that fabulous fish spatula, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to fish all this out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this on the plate here, our imaginary plate. I think somebody took my plate. It's okay. But like I said, you can still plate in this actually hot bowl as well, for like if it was for yourself or something. But if you're trying to impress somebody, you're going to go ahead and grab a separate plate. Okay. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fish out all these things. Okay. And then all that juice is your liquid gold. I think I put that in the recipe. This here is our liquid gold. All that juice, that's liquid gold right there, baby. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to add that there, and we're going to take this fish out. Okay. And we're going to add it right to our plate. And by all means, please excuse the metal plate, but you guys get the idea. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the liquid gold with the ladle. Okay. And we're going to just drizzle that over the top. You can serve this just as is, or you could serve it with a side of rice. I would recommend a side of rice. But like I say, if you're watching your carb intake, maybe something kind of like quinoa. And like we say, voila, right? So, you know, it all depends on how you want to serve it. I think veggies and sauce and fish is perfectly fine, you know. But if you guys want to add some carbs, like I love rice. Growing up in Hawaii, we love rice. Serve it with a little bit of rice, either or. You could do a medium grain Carol's rice. You could do jasmine, which is my favorite. Basmati is another one. But then you can also use a quinoa, right? Farro, things like that. If you don't want to have carbs, serve it as is. If you want to add a little bit of carbs, I would serve it with a little bit of side of rice. But that's it, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed my episode of Chinese steamed snapper with Lap Cheong and a little bit of sizzle oil. I hope that helps you guys. And I have any questions? Do we have any questions, Chef, out there?
Real quick, Chef, the shrimp, if we wanted to do it with shrimp, shell or no shell?
That's a personal preference. Okay, so if you ask anybody, chefs out there, I prefer shell on. That's my thing. It holds the juices in. And many of you guys out there, folks, have ever eaten a peel and eat shrimp, right? But then what if you're having a nice dinner and everybody's dressed very nice, right? Then I would do shell off. So it all depends on your scenario, and it all depends on if you want to work at your shrimp. But personally, I would do the shell on devein. They do sell them out there, shell on devein. But yeah, I mean, personal preference, I would do shell on. It all depends on your ambiance and what's going on. I feel like, you know, people are dressed really nice at your home for this party. I would do shell off just because you don't want them fussing with it and getting it on their nice clothes. So, like I said, a personal preference, but shell on would capture all that juices in there. So I hope that helps that question. Anything else we got out there? Ask away, folks. Ask away.
I think that's all we got. Everyone else is
All right.
great feedback. Looks amazing, Chef. Thanks, Chef, and looks great. It does. It looks very good, Chef. Love it.
All right. Cool. I mean, besides the metal plate, but I mean, you guys get the idea. Things happen, right? But yeah, thank you for joining me. Like I said, follow me on Instagram, UFC_Chef J Loo. I do a live video, Technique Tuesday, Flavor Friday, and a Smoking Sunday. Check me out. I do live videos all the time. I've been doing it for a year straight, every single Tuesday and Friday, and a Smoking Sunday. So check me out. Please follow me. Go ahead, ask the questions. I love to help everybody out. But yeah, check out for that Chef J Loo brand. It's coming to you soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Chef. And that's all we got for you guys today. Next week, I'll be on with a pre-recorded video for you guys. I'm doing some Filipino chicken adobo for you guys in celebration of this Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. Thank you again, Chef. We're going to get this video up, and I'll send out that YouTube link to everyone.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. I love coming to you guys over there at Qualcomm. Invite me anytime. I'm always down. Let's do it.
We love it. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you. And like I say, cook with your heart. Try everything twice. I'll see you guys later.